Hello guys, what's up? This is Mortaza and welcome to the next episode of our C# learning tutorial. In the last episode, we talked about comments, adding single line comments and multi-line comments to our code in our console application. In this video, I've decided to talk about variables. Variables are very important because they give us the opportunity to store data and then use them in our code. So in a software application, it is very important to store some pieces of data. For example, a user enters his name. So you want to capture that name and store it somewhere and then use that, in a kind of a piece of code. So in order to store data and then use that data, we need variables. And our data can have different types, for example, data can be an integer value, a double value. It can be a single character. It can be, a string, a sequence of characters. For these different types of data, we have something called data types or data types in our C# code. To give you a very simple, example, I'm going to create a variable and then tell you all about the nitty-gritty details of working with variables. Suppose I want to store my name and my age and then print them in the output. So my age is an integer value, so I'm gonna use int and then choose a name for my variable and then assign a value to that variable. So as you can see, at the moment I am 32. I have created a variable named my age. This variable is of type int or integer. It can store whole numbers like 32, and with this assignment, with this equals sign, I have assigned this 32 to this variable my age. And I want to create my name also, a variable for my name also. My name, suppose I want to use integer one more time. So I say my name or my full name, for example. And then I'm going to assign it, for example, my name and my semicolon. As you can see, I have tried to create an integer value, an integer variable named my full name, and I have tried to store this string in that variable. But I see some squiggly lines here. It says, if I go to error list, it says cannot implicitly convert type a string to int. So this means that it cannot store this string value into this variable, because this variable is of type integer. So in order to be able to store this string value, this sequence of characters into a variable, the type of that variable has to be a string. So a string is another data type which allows us to, store a sequence of characters. So right now I have two variables, my age and my full name. They are of different data types. We have integer and a string, and the different values which are assigned to these, variables using the equals sign. Now I need to kind of print these values in the output. So right now, I'm going to get rid of this code and I'm going to console write line the value of this my full name. In order to be able to get to that value, I need to use the name of my variable, which is my full name. I'm going to write down my full, and as you can see, Visual Studio is smart enough to suggest that I want to use my full name, and then I'm going to press space. And I want 32 as well. In order to be able to use 32, first off, suppose I add another console write line. And as you can see, Visual Studio is smart enough. It kind of guesses that I want to write line my age as well. And I press tab on my keyboard and the code, gets written down for me. Now, if I run my project, in the output, I will see my name and my age. So the values that were assigned to these two variables. Of course, I can, print my full name along with my age in the same write line method. All I need to do is to combine these two, variables together. In order to combine them, I use a plus sign and I can say my age. I'm going to get rid of this code and I'm going to run my application. Here in the output, I see my age and 32, and 32 is kind of, connected to my last name, which makes it a little bit hard to read. So what I can do is to put a little space here. Here, I have combined, this plus sign is used to combine or to concatenate strings or other, data types. For example, here I have concatenated my integer and my string, and I have, concatenated a small space in between as well. All of this is done using the plus sign, which is an operator. We are going to talk about them later. So if I run my application now, it says my first name, my last name, and then my age. So variables are used in order to store, different pieces of data. So I can also store, create a variable, for example, string my job title, and do not assign a value when I, create that variable. I can assign my value later. For example, here I can say C# developer. So you do not need to initialize or assign a value to your variable when you declare or when you put the type and the name of your variable. You can declare your variable here and then you can assign a value later as you go along your code. And then of course you can write the value of your variable in the output. Now I have one simple question to ask you before we end this episode. Suppose instead of using the name of my variable in this console write line, I put this in double quotes. What do you think will happen if I try to run the application? Think about it for a moment. The application will run, and what I get in the output is exactly the string that I have put in the double quotes, which is my job title. So remember, if you want to get to the value, of your variable, you need to put the name of that variable. If, for example, you put double quotes here, the value in the double quotes will get written to the output. We're going to talk about these details as we go along. Anyways, I want to end this episode now. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. And I will talk to you in the next episode.